So we're going to come straight into cat-cow this morning. I've got my 2 bricks at the front of the mat. I've got a block as well for a little bit later on. Oh, stretch the legs out a little bit. And then just going to sit down with quite narrow knees. Allow ourselves to take the hands forwards and stretch it out. Now, I'll notice even this first thing in the morning, or first practice in the morning, the head doesn't touch the floor, the back doesn't quite bend as much, the calf muscles and thighs are a bit tight, so head doesn't reach the ground. We'll do when I've warmed up. Take a few breaths here, stretch out the rib cage a little bit, get a little bit of length down the side of the body, opening up that latissimus dorsi muscle. And we'll lift up out of it quite quickly. Come into some cat-cow, so just draw the chest forwards a little bit, roll the shoulders back, keeping the belly in a little bit, and then letting the spine lift up, tilting the pelvis, really opening up the back of the shoulders, so spreading the wings, and then coming forwards. Remembering your breath and my breath are going to be different patterns. But as long as the elements are there of the stretch, a little bit of pressing down so you stretch the fingers out. And then we'll come into down dog. So we're going to tuck the toes underneath, lift the knees off the ground just a little bit. We're going to hover there just for a couple of seconds. And then we'll start to press back and slowly lift the hips up. And if you need to, you can widen the stance a little more. I'm going to walk with the legs out a little bit. So just slowly moving from side to side. Getting that big stretch into the calf, down through the Achilles and underneath the heel into that plantar area. And I'm going to lift up onto tiptoes. I'm going to try and keep the position of the down dog and then roll the heels down and lift up onto the tiptoes. So try not to press myself forwards. Just a lift and a drop of the hips up and down. Almost like there's a rope around your waist that's lifting you up towards the sky and then dropping you back down gently. So inhale up. And exhale down. This takes a little bit more effort through the shoulders than you might think. It probably looks pretty easy, but actually works quite hard. We'll come down from here, back into a nice tabletop position. Just draw the knees down. We'll come down onto our bellies, and from the legs back out. Have the feet a bit wider than the hips. And we'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders for a little bit of low cobra. So we're going to press the thighs down into the floor in a way. We'll lift the chest on the inhale and exhale down. Now try not to pull on the head and the neck. So it's lengthening the spine and moving around. We squeeze the elbows a little bit into the ribs, keeping them off the floor. And then we'll take a couple of those where we take the hands alongside the hips, palms face down, and we'll lift the hands, the arms, the chest, and the thighs off the floor. We'll just hold this for 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 4 breaths, 5 breaths. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit as we press away from the ground. Draw the knees through. Spin the feet out to the side. And let ourselves move down onto our back. So I'm going to take one of the bricks with me. And heels in towards your bottom. Use the hands to guide yourself down. So a little bit of strength to shoulders and core. Once we arrive, we'll draw the right knee in towards the chest and lengthen the left leg out down the center line. Have a little cheeky look. Make sure the foot is pointing towards the sky. Flex both feet. Draw the belly to the spine. Lengthen the pelvis away. Let that knee move a little more towards the armpit on the right side. And we'll do the same again. Let's draw the feet back in. Chin comes in so we can have a little look at what we're doing. Slide the foot down the center line. And then rest back. Draw the belly to the spine. So it takes some of the natural curves out of the back. The leg comes into the armpit a little more. Try and send the pelvis away and we flex both feet. And then we'll release from there. We'll bring both the heels back in. I'm going to take the feet hip distance apart. So I'm going to stretch my fingers down so I can actually touch my heels. And then I know that my knees and my heels are kind of in line with each other. I'm going to take my block and put that between my thighs. Now, if you've got a block, you can put it onto sort of a second thickness. If you've got a couple of blocks, you can take both, and that gives you pretty much the width that we're looking for. So it's between the thighs. And we're going to take hands alongside the body. Nice long neck. And then just slowly draw the belly in towards the spine. Start to curl the tailbone away. Squeeze on the thighs a little bit and slowly lift the hips up towards the sky. Now, once you get to a point of that feels like it's enough lift, you can roll the shoulders under a little bit more so you can start to draw your chest towards your chin. And you're going to try and lengthen the knees away and press your buttocks away as well, which sounds like an odd statement to make, but it just makes a little bit more space in the spine. Stops you crunching into your lower back. Also activates the glutes more effectively. So you're not relying just on the hamstrings and the thighs to hold you up. You're taking the whole of the legs into the equation. I'm still squeezing. I'm still pressing down through the hands. Now we're going to take that a little further and we're going to start to bend the elbows and have the hands come into like a robot position. So the fingers point up towards the sky. And we'll press the back of the arms into the ground as hard as you can, but still being able to breathe smoothly. So if you kind of push all the way down, you're gritting your teeth and holding your breath, that's a little bit too much, but you definitely want to know that you're doing some work. Remember, your buttocks and your thighs are still lengthening away. And then we'll slowly roll the spine back down to the floor. And as we do, we'll take the arms out wide, like a crucifix. I'm going to change the block thickness to the narrowest setting. So if you were using 2 blocks, you take one out. And I'll draw the knees in towards the chest. Keeping the toes together gently. And take some spinal twists here. So I'm going to let the legs roll over towards the right. I'm going to keep the head facing the sky. And I'm only going to take the knees down as far as I can before the shoulders feel like they're going to lift. I'm going to try and keep the feet off the ground the same distance as the knees. Inhale back up. and cross over to the other side. And the key part of this is keeping the knees nice and close in towards the body, letting them drop out. So the feet are off the ground, they're going from side to side with the knees. There's going to be a little bit of creaking in the spine probably. And again, we're just moving very slowly with our own breath. Feet are slightly flexed, spreading the toes out as well. Just a couple more. So nice slow movements means that we're controlling the muscles rather than hoping that we're going to throw the body around, and with some luck it might sort of go in the place we're hoping for and no further. I'm trying to keep this very controlled. Come back into the center. And we're going to move the brick out now from between the thighs and let the knees come in towards the body. I'm going to take the arms around the shins and let the chin come in towards the chest. So I'm taking into a little bit more of a tucked up ball and rolling on the spine just for a few seconds. And then as I unleash my spine back down to the floor, I'm going to bring the knees directly over the hips and just raise the shins so they're parallel to the floor. So about nice 90 degrees, point the toes away a little bit. I'll take the hands around the back of the head and the elbows out wide. So I want to be touching the floor. I might have to draw the mid back into the floor a little bit. And then we're going to take a crossover crunch. So I'm going to take my right elbow to my left knee whilst extending the right leg out. I'm going to try and keep the left elbow on the floor. So come slow, use my way back, and then roll over to the opposite side. Always coming down with head and the elbows touching the ground. Always keeping one elbow attached to the floor. Half a minute left. And last lift. Draw the knees back in towards the body and roll onto your right side. Use the hands to press into the floor to lift up. Oops, move the bricks around a little bit. And we're going to come onto all fours. At the front of the mat. And then lift the hips up, walk feet into a forward fold. Have the feet about hip distance apart, in front of the mat. Bring hands onto the shins and lift up halfway. Draw the chest forwards. Try and keep a little bit of weight in the toes. Fold over a little deeper. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more time to lift and fold. So we'll bring the hands onto the hips. Lift up. Take the hands up towards the sky on the breath in. Hands into the heart. We come down to the floor. We'll step back with the right foot into a lunge. Drop the heel onto the center line, ready for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the thighs, lift the chest. Slowly cartwheel the arms open. We'll float the hands above the head. We'll rotate, lengthen out, slow, keep the back foot connected. Down to the ground, we come back into a plank. We push forwards into our half plank, bring the elbows into the ribs. The laces change, keep the legs long, still lengthening the buttocks away just like we did in bridge. And then lifting the hips up into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest, bring the foot through into the lunge, come onto the fingertips, take a little breath here. On the exhale, we'll press into the forward fold and stank in tight. Bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and flatten the back to lift. Take the hands to the sky, second side. Hands into the heart, exhaling down. Left foot back into lunge. Let the chest lift. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside. And then open up into our warrior two. Inhale, hands high. Rotate and lengthen out. Down to the floor. Another plank, followed by half plank. Taking the up dog to down dog. 2 breaths here. Lifting back and up the whole time, checking the hands are flat to the floor. We'll draw the left knee in, bring that through into our lunge. Breath, push off the toes, coming forward, sinking in deep, hands onto the hips as we breathe in and we lift up. We'll inhale high, hands through your heart. So we're going to repeat that to the right side. Taking the right foot back, fingertips, lift the chest, press out through the back leg, drop the heel in, sweep the hands alongside the body, press into that front thigh and shin. Now this time we're going to take the hands above, but we're going to take it into a high crescent. So we'll move a little more slowly, draw the chest to the front of the mat, lift the back heel, draw the hands high. Now we're going to keep the front knee where it is, but we'll lean out over the front thigh, keep the hands in line, press out through the back heel to a very straight rear leg. Hold it for 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 4th breath down to the floor, back into plank, half plank to up dog, into that down dog. Lift it back deep, right knee into the chest and foot through for the lunge. Long press into that forward fold. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. So you get the idea. We'll do the same to the second side. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Left foot back. Into the lunge. Drop the heel in. Hands swoop alongside the body when we open up into warriors. We take our time lifting the hands and turning the body. We're trying to keep it upright. Ribs are down. Tailbone down towards the floor. Press out through the back heel. 1 more breath. Extend out, following the line of the back leg. One more breath and hands on the floor on the exhale. Back into that high plank. Half planks. To up dog. Down dog. Draw the left knee in.
to lunge. Press forwards. Sinking deep. Hands under the hips and we lift up. Inhale high, we'll add a twist. Hands through and down. Right foot back. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body. Open up into our warrior two. Hands come high. Rotate slowly. Now bring the hands in towards the heart. Keep the elbows wide and shoulder height. Lean forwards. Follow that line of the back leg. Rotate gently. Right elbow down to the outside. And we bring hands to the floor. Step it back into our plank. Half plank. Up dog. To down dog. A little bit of longer rest. Last breath here. Draw the right knee in, bring it into the lunge. Forward fold, deep. Hands under the hips again, lift up. Inhale high, draw the belly in. Lift the thighs. Even weight through the feet. Left foot back, drop heel in. Open it up into your warrior two. Hands come high. Rotate around. Use the hands towards the heart. Exhale, lengthen forwards. Press out through the back leg so it's strong. Take a breath. Then rotate the torso as you fold over. And then the hands to the floor. Back into our plank, to half plank as we come forwards. Keep the legs lengthening away as you lift up. Roll the shoulders back and up. Roll of those toes into that down dog. So still easing really into the optimum shape of our down dog. There's still movement and growth. We'll start to draw that left knee in. Bring that through into the lunge. Take a little breath. Press off the toes. We're into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. Inhale high, bring the hands into the heart. We'll shake it out a little bit. And I'm going to bring one of my bricks sort of center line of the mat, ready for triangle pose. So I'm going to step out to the right side of the mat. Take the feet nice and wide. And then lift the hands so they're in line with the shoulders, which kind of helps with our warrior two. We get used to lifting the hands level with the shoulders and relaxing the shoulders down a little bit. We'll turn the toes towards the front of the mat and we'll sink into warrior two just to find our position. I'll lean forwards and then bring the brick or the block onto the inside of the foot. I'm going to press the heel and hand down. Take the top arm up to 12 o'clock. I'm going to roll the chest round a little more. Now I'm going to start to straighten the front leg by pressing into the big toe joint of the front foot. And keep the spine very long. So you notice that I deliberately rolled the body round into the twist before we even took the leg into the pose. And generally, we start poses from the floor and work our way up. This one we kind of change the rules a little bit. It's a long hold. So you really get a chance to open that front leg and the hips, extending the pelvis towards the back of the mat. We'll take our last breath here, soften the front knee, let ourselves lift up. Back into warrior two. Straighten the front leg, turn the toes in, knock the block over, bring the hands down, and then zigzag the legs back in. And we'll move the block again, same starting position, so kind of on the center line. And we'll just take it out to the second side. So we'll take a little time to take the feet nice and wide. When we feel balanced and ready, we take the arms out, palms face down. Turn the feet towards the front mat, sink into our warrior two. And slowly bring yourself down to bring the block in. Take a little time to get your knee directly over your ankle, heel and hand pressing down. Take the top arm up towards the sky and then really start to rotate the chest to the long side of the mat. So you're really not working hard in the shoulder. It's all coming from the torso. Then we're going to press into the front foot. Get the legs up, hips back. Keep the twist turning into the body. Should be able to feel the front thigh lifting, but still protecting the back knee or the back of the knee on that front foot. So soften the front knee. Come back into the warrior two. Again, we'll just turn the toes into the long side of the mat. Zigzag back in as we drop the arms down. So quite long holds. Shake everything out. We'll come back into the front of the mat again and use the block again. So just taking that side step to the right. Taking the feet out nice and wide. Once you're settled, hands come out. Return into the warrior two to start with. This time I'm going to take the reverse warrior. I'm going to take the front hand up towards the sky, 12 o'clock, and bring the opposite hand down onto the back of the thigh. Now, as we stretch towards the back of the mat, we're going to let that back hand slide down the outside edge of the thigh. Try and keep the front knee, even though we can't see it, over the ankle. Pointing in the same direction as the foot. Back leg does a lot of work. From here, we'll come back into the warrior two. Going to lengthen over the front thigh, keeping the front knee where it was. Going to reach down, find the brick. Ooh, almost out of reach. Bring it onto the inside of that front thigh and take the top arm up towards the sky. Going to wrap the hand around and see if I can bring it halfway down the thigh, something like that. So turning the body in. Again, just opening the chest up. You can look over the rear shoulder if it feels easy to do. So using that opportunity to really open the body to the side. It becomes an imprinted feeling for the body. It knows it's safe. We know we can move to it. Take a last breath here. Press down through the front shin. So lift up into warrior two. Straighten the front leg, turn the toes, and zigzag the legs back in. Could take it to the first, or the other side rather, just as we've done before. So take a little time to step out on the side. Again, just arranging the feet. You might notice that your feet get a little wider each time you do this as you get a little more secure. Take the hands out into our warrior two. You turn the palm, top arm up to 12 o'clock to start with. Drop the back hand down and then reach up and over. Slide the hand down, back of the thigh. Should feel the leg muscles in that back leg engage. Lift. Try and keep the groins open on the front leg. We'll come back into that warrior two just for a second and extend over the front thigh. Bring the block on to position again. Taking the top arm up, roll the chest open. Spin that hand around. Again, we're aiming for sort of middle of the thigh. Try and keep the spine long. Keep rotating that bottom rib around and up. You can press the arm and the leg together a little to help counterleave around. Back foot stays engaged into the floor. Last breath here. Press down into that front shin again. Into our warrior two. Straighten the front leg and turn the toes in. Little zigzag as the hands come down. And then we step ourselves into the front of the mat again. So we bring our famous block through. Place it into position. I'm going to try and use 2 bricks this time at the front of the mat. I'll be about shoulder distance apart. Missed there. Over imagining my size there in the shoulder department. So we're going to turn to the right again, down the center line of the mat. Taking the hands out wide into our star. Turn it into our warrior two. Take it into our reverse warrior. Come forward into warrior two again. We'll take the hands high. Turn slowly into our high crescent. So just lift the back heel. We're going to lean forward gently, keeping the arms out. Bring the hands down onto the blocks. Let ourselves kind of float into the front knee as we bring the back foot off the ground, keeping the hips nice and stable. Now, we try not to put too much weight into the hands. Try and keep the hips nice and square. Back foot is pointing down. Leg is lengthened out, straight as we can make it. Take one more breath here. And to come out of this, we'll soften the front knee and drop the back foot into the lunge. And then bring the hands to the floor. So when we're on fingertips, we can step in gently to that forward fold. We'll bring hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. And then we'll take it out to the final side. So just taking the feet out nice and wide. Open the arms. Move into our warrior two. Just checking the front foot is pointing forwards. It's kind of key to that warrior three lift. Turn the palm, reverse the warrior. Knees in, should be able to get nice and deep. The body's warmed up. Come back into our warrior two. Float the arms high. Slow turn into the crescent. Oops. And then start to lean forward. So we're just keeping the hands in that nice line through the torso to the back leg. We're already pressing out through the back heel. Bring the hands down, find the blocks. Push into the front knee very lightly as we lift up. Last breath here. Again, we'll soften the front knee. Ease ourselves back into that back foot on the ground. So try and keep the feet the same distance apart as they would have been from the launch. And then when the fingertips are on the floor, we can step into the forward fold. Now we're going to move those two blocks out to the side, so off of our line of vision. Take a little breath from here, bring the hands onto the hips, and we'll lift up slow. Take the hands high as we breathe in. Bring the hands in towards the heart. On the exhale, we're going to lengthen the hands forwards, palms face down. Now imagine you're pressing an invisible resistance in there. Going to lift up onto the tiptoes. Take a little breath. Going to soften the knees. Try and keep the spine flat and long, drawing the belly in. We're going to sink our way down very slowly, hopefully, until we think that our thighs are parallel to the floor. Lost that one. And we'll hold here for 5 breaths. And then we'll lift up slowly as we came in. Keeping the heels from the ground if we can. So the legs are straight and then dropping the heels down. And shake it all out. I'm going to step back into middle-ish of my mat. Purely because I want a little bit of length through the body. I have my feet about sitting bone distance apart, which means my feet are about 2 or 3 inches apart only, and they're parallel. Bring the hands in towards the heart. I'm going to load the weight into my right leg so that the left foot can just about come off the ground. And then going to take that left leg backwards and lean forwards into the warrior three. So keep the belly drawn in, find your focus point, shift the weight, start to come forwards. Take your time. Let the eyes come down slowly with you. Now, if you wish to, you can extend the hands out in front, in line with the body, palms facing in. And then we'll soften the front knee as we bring the hands back in. Oh, little touch on the floor. Bend the front knee. Bend the back knee, bring the foot down to the ground or into the forward fold. Bring the hands onto the hips and lift up. And then hopefully the feet are still that 2 or 3 inches apart that we have. It'll take a little time to breathe. It can be very exciting. I think the adrenaline levels go up when you're doing this version of Warrior 3. Well, it does in my case. Maybe everyone else is kind of chilled out about it. And bring the hands in towards the heart. Shift the weight gently. Slowly start to take the foot back to hinge forwards. The foot stays flexed and hopefully pointing down towards the floor the whole time. We take our time. The eyes follow where the head is pointing. Really lengthen out through that back leg. When you're settled, if you wish to, you can take the hands out. Oops, in front. I'm not doing so well today on that side. Now, a little bend in the front knee. Bring the hands down to the floor. Step it gently back into that forward fold. Always good to bring a little bit of artistic impression into your Warrior 3. And bring the hands onto the hips as we lift up. And we'll just step it into the front of the mat. Take the feet about hip distance apart, hands high. Into the heart and down to the floor. We'll step it back into our down dog. Just for a little treat, we'll take a pigeon pose. So we'll bring the toes onto the center line of the back mat. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest. Take it to the outside of the elbow. Bring the heel underneath. Slide the knee down. Walk the back foot away. Lift up high. Come up onto the fingertips. The least amount of weight into those fingers as possible. Lift it out through the back leg, press it down a little as well. And we'll take it back into down dog. So tuck the toe on the back foot, roll the shoulders back. So you start to strengthen the shoulder girdle before you lift, rather than during. And then we'll bring the left knee in to almost a plank. The heel comes under. We slide the back foot as best we can down the center line. We lift up onto the fingertips, lift the chest. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. Now bring the hands to the floor again. We'll shift back into our down dog. So just tuck the toe on the back foot, shoulder blades, roll down the side of the body as we lift up. We're back into our down dog. We're going to take the feet about hip distance apart. We're going to move into some side planks here. So we'll come forwards, shoulders over wrists. We'll take the feet over to the left, lift the hips, take the right hand high. Keep those legs strong. We'll bring the hand down gently to the floor and take that over to the opposite side. So we can just sorting the feet out. Over to the right. We're on the side of one foot. The other foot is flat to the floor. Both legs are engaged and lifting up the hips as much as we can. Remember to breathe. And then we'll come back down into the plank. Now from here, we're going to come into elbow plank. So I'm going to take one hand forwards, bring the elbow down. Take the other hand forwards and bring the elbow down so the elbows are underneath the shoulders. I'm going to flip over to the left side again. Take the right hand high and lift the hips. Keep the legs strong. One more breath. Bring the hands down. Roll back into the elbow plank. Make sure your feet are set up. Take it over to the right. When you're ready, lift the left hand. So you really need to press down through that forearm and lift the shoulder away from the ear. Belly's drawn in. Lifting the hips up so you can feel the side obliques working hard. Press down into the feet to help and assist. One more breath. And come back into elbow plank. Take a little breath here. And then slide the feet back and let the belly down to the floor. So we're more into a Sphinx pose. We'll just lengthen the legs out a little bit further. Roll the heels out, toes in, belly drawn in, lifting the chest. Then we'll come down to the floor. We're going to come into bow pose. So we'll bring the hands underneath the chin to start with. And then make sure the feet are about hip distance apart. You're going to bend the knees and bring the heels in towards the bottom. You're going to take a hand back one at a time to find the ankles, keeping the chin close to the ground. And if the knees are flared out in the process of trying to find your ankles, just bring them back into hip distance apart. I'm going to press the thighs into the floor. Allow the shoulders to squeeze a little bit. I'm going to tighten the grip around the ankles. Flex the feet. Press the shins away. I'm going to lift the chest up to keep the thighs on the floor. We're trying to lengthen the bottom away a little bit. It's been a constant theme through the class to try and get that space in the lower back. Now we're going to start to take the feet towards the sky. So press the soles of your feet to lift the thighs away from the floor. Keep lengthening the spine away and the buttocks off to the back of the mat. Last breath. Release, back down. Bring the hands back underneath the chin. And shake out the hips a little from side to side. Now you can bring the hands alongside your body and lift yourself up if you wish that way by pressing down into the floor, or you can roll onto a side and draw the knees in for a little bit easier version through the spine. I'm going to take my flat block behind and just lift myself up. Take the legs out in front, draw the flesh out a little bit. Bring the feet together, come into Dandasana. So the hands are a little bit behind the hips, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to flex the feet towards me, spread the toes and lengthen the heels away. Just let the breath settle a little. So we're going to have one last little bit of fun. We're going to take a forward fold, but it's going to be the wide leg variety. So we'll take one leg out, take the other leg out. We'll lift up a little bit, come onto the front of the sitting bones, and then we're going to place the hands onto the shins. And this version, we want to press out through the heels as strongly as we can. Keep the feet flexed up, pointing towards the sky, and spread the toes a little bit. We're going to take the hands down the shins towards the feet, and then work our way hopefully to get index finger, middle finger around the big toe. So we're going to draw the body up and then roll the pelvis over. So at this point, the hands are just staying on the shins where they were. Trying to keep the legs lengthening out so they stay as straight as I can manage them to be. And then hook fingers around the big toes. I'm going to use that to draw my body forwards, keeping the belly drawn in. I'm still trying to get a little bit more mobility in the hips. I'm just trying to sink the pelvis down towards the floor and let the spine follow. The elbows are going out wide, just to keep the chest nice and open so I don't round the upper back very much. Keep the head in line with the rest of the body. Still working, we've got quite a long hold here. Can think about the legs a little bit more at a time. There's plenty of room and time to be in this pose. Letting the kind of the sticky part of the hips loosen up a little bit and open. They relax a bit more the longer we stay in this pose. The happier they get. They realize that actually the world didn't stop spinning and that we're okay. We have about 30 seconds left to just breathe and enjoy. And if gravity happens to let us come in a little lower, if the muscles release a little bit more, then perfect. If we're already on the edge, that's great. Fine sitting on the edge. Don't need to push past it. Last breath in, and then we release and lift ourselves back up. We use the hands under the legs to draw them back in, because I kind of lost the sense of feeling a little bit as I do that. And we'll come back onto the ground for the last time for that little spiral twist. I like to use the block behind top of the head. That's a matter of choice. Ease our way down. Take the hands out wide. Take a little breath. And shimmy the hips to the left a little and take the legs to the right. And then turn the head to the left. Wiggle the shoulders around so that's flat to the floor. And this time we're going to try and let everything just relax and soften. Wherever it hangs, it hangs. That's good enough for me. And we'll take a little lift. Center, offset,
and roll it down to the left, head to the right. And we'll bring ourselves back into the center. Lengthen the heel up to each corner. And hands a little closer to the side of the body to lengthen everything out for that last little wriggle. And let it relax. And we'll slowly begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Roll the wrists and ankles. Breathe a little deeper. Stretch it out on an exhale, maybe. And then slide the heels back in. Allow yourself to take the knees in towards the chest gently. A little rock and roll or hug, whatever feels good. And then we'll roll onto our right side, taking a breath down on the floor. And then on the exhale, we can use the hands to lift up and bring ourselves back into seated posture. Hands into the heart as you sit up tall. On the exhale, let the chin drop. Draw the belly in, bow gently, slowly to the floor. Seal your practice. On the inhale, lift the spine. Let the head rise, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoy playing with our warrior threes.